Okay, good morning, good morning. Right, day 4 calf Busa build. That's the rather daft project to turn this Generation 1 Hayabusa into a rat rod calf racer. Now that's basically a style makeover, and I'm going to make it hopefully look unique, interesting and like nothing else I've ever seen before. But that's a long way in the future yet. It's a style makeover I'm going for, but before I get involved in changing the way that looks, I've got to make sure it performs safely and handles correctly. This is an old bike, 38,000 miles with something like 20 years under its belt, and an awful lot of neglect. It shows in the bike everywhere. So before I go anywhere else, I've got to replace everything that I possibly can in terms of cycle parts. Now that involves everything: the brakes, wheel bearings, seals, bushes, everything I can replace, I want to replace. Now you saw the whole heap of parts I had in the last video. There's loads more to come, but what I have got is all 5 wheel bearings here. 2 in the front, 3 in the back. So today I'm going to do the front wheel bearings. I don't know what I'm going to find, and that's the same for the rest of the bike. It is an unknown quantity. So front wheel bearings today. Let's shake the tree and see what falls out. Wish me luck. At least the thread's good. It's just a wrong bolt. Okay, I'm going to use a blind bearing puller set to get these out today rather than the usual old-fashioned method of tapping them out from the other side. You can do it both ways, but it depends how often you're going to do this sort of thing on your bikes. I seem to be doing it more increasingly, so I invest in the right tool to do the job a little bit more gently than hitting things with drifts and screwdrivers. It's a nicer way to do it if you want to invest in the tools, and I'll pop a link to this set underneath in the description. If you want to buy yourself something like that, it's a great way to pull bearings out if you're going to do quite a lot of them, as I am on this. Right, now I'm not lucky enough to have a hydraulic press in my garage yet. Maybe one day in the future. Keep saving, keep investing and you get there. But for now I have to use a little ghetto press that I made myself a long time ago. It pushes the bearings in gently, makes a really nice job of it, and yes, I know that I can put them in the freezer and heat this up as well, and they drop in with your thumbs and all the rest. But I just want to show you this little press because I really love it. I'm quite proud of it and it works really well. Right, let's clean up the holes that the new bearings got going first. Right, all that's usually going to be in there is old grease that's kind of gone all stodgy and hard and horrible like wax, and perhaps a bit of road debris or whatever, possibly some corrosion if you're unlucky. So start with cleaning. I start with cleaning with toothbrush and WD-40, and it just releases anything that's dissolvable, and you can easily then wipe the whole lot out. Obviously not harsh abrasives in there, because that's a precision hole. If you start putting sandpaper in there, then you're going to make the hole a different size. But obviously a little bit of Scotch-Brite pad, very gently with some WD-40 if you have to get rid of any corrosion that's really bad, because if there's corrosion in there, it's going to impede the slide of the new bearing as it goes in. I'm sure you know that. Right, when you put your wheel bearings in, you'll notice that the rim has two different sides to it. You get a side that is a smaller hole than the other. One's got a big hole, one's got a small hole. You fit the bearing into the small hole first. Both bearings are the same size in this bike, but I'll show you the difference in the rim. Alright, this is the smaller hole, and if you spin the wheel round, you'll see that's a much larger hole. So the simple assembly order is that this hole, being smaller, has this shoulder down here, and when you insert the bearing and press that into its place, the bearing sits right up against that hole, and that gives you the exact depth that that bearing goes to. Then you spin the rim over and you place the spacer tube in to the hole. Doing this standing up, and that will sit against the back of the bearing you've just installed, and it will give you a base upon which this bearing then rests. So you know that both bearings are in exactly the correct position, because that spacer holds that one in place, and the spacer itself sits on the bearing, held in place by that machined shoulder, so you can't make mistakes. So the first one to put in is this side. Right, 46mm socket underneath, pressing against the rim itself, just the rim casting, giving me a solid platform to pull down against. Piece of threaded bar, and this disc, there's one on the other end, this disc is cut specifically to be a tiny bit smaller than the bearing itself, but not so small, obviously it misses the outer ring. It presses on the outer ring, but it isn't bigger than the outer ring, so it will press all the way into the seat just by winding this spanner, like so. One bearing gently pressed in. So that goes underneath with the press thread. Spacer tube. And that will find its own place. It will sit neatly against the bearing I've just put in. Another little question comes up. Do you grease the inner receiving hole and the outer of the bearing? Not with any amount, honestly. Just don't put it in bone dry, so it's bone dry metal dragging against bone dry metal, but put so little on, it's just, you can't see it. It's just a little tiny wipe, literally a shadow, a soupçon, nothing much. Just enough so that it can slide in there without any resistance. Check underneath that the socket is lined up with the hole. That's this rim round here, and it's pressing on the casting, not the disc or anything else, or it's not cockeyed. Make sure underneath that's all central. There we are. Second bearing fitted. Okay, now it receives the dust seals. Okay, dust seals. All I do, a little bit of grease around the inside of the hole, push them in. Okay, there we are. One pair of wheel bearings banged in. Let's chuck it in the bike. Okay, there we are, that's it, wheel bearings, day 4, easy peasy. Now I have to put this back together every time I've done a job because I just need to get it off the bench, and if it's all in a million bits with no wheels in and no forks in, I've lost my lift. So that's why I do it. I do a whole job complete, full clock, finish it and put the stuff back together. Only loosely, just wrist tight, nothing's actually torqued up or anything because that wheel's got to come out again because the forks have got to come out to the headstock bearings in the future. But for now, that's one job, wheel bearings, easy innit, ever so simple. This little doodah, if you want to make one for yourself, ever so easy, piece of threaded bar, some normal nuts, some normal washers, just to give me a stack height if I need it. But the all important bit, the business end of it, is these discs. Just a couple of steel discs, I made them out of some 5mm plate, drill a hole in them, and this is before I had the lathe. I just rounded them roughly on the sander, easy peasy, lovely. And if you make them slightly smaller than the bearing, then they'll get pushed, you can push them all the way in, drive the bearing all the way home without it sticking in the hole like I said. Or you can use a socket for this sort of thing. There's loads of ways to do this, there truly is. No way's the right or wrong way as long as it works and it's safe and it gives you the result at the end. So you can make something like that for yourself if you want, don't need expensive presses. I would like a hydraulic press, all donations gratefully accepted, but I don't have the room for it anyway. Look around here. Right, there we are, that's it, that's day 4, front wheel bearings. In the next one we'll do rear wheel bearings and I'll put the sprocket on the carrier as well and the cush drive rubbers and so the whole back end is then ready to put the chain on when it comes to. Okay, so there we are, thanks for watching, take it easy, ride safe. I'm going to update the board, I'll see you next time.